Up to this point, we have focused primarily on theology. Now we turn to the political consequences of the Protestant Reformation, especially within the Holy Roman Empire, where these events unfolded most dramatically. Understanding the political landscape of early 16th century Europe is essential for understanding why the Reformation succeeded. In the early 1500s, nearly every European state was ruled by some form of monarchy: kings, dukes, electors, counts, and other hereditary rulers. These states traced their origins back to the early Middle Ages, when powerful warlords consolidated lands and built dynasties. However, the region we call Germany today was very different. It was not a single nation, but a patchwork of hundreds of small states, each ruled by its own prince. These ranged from powerful dukedoms to small knightly territories and free cities. For simplicity, historians usually refer to them collectively as princes and their states as principalities. Technically, all these states formed part of the Holy Roman Empire. The emperor was supposed to be the overlord of all these territories. In reality, however, the empire had very limited power. Voltaire famously remarked that it was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. It functioned more like the modern United Nations. It could issue decrees, but it relied on its member states to enforce them, something they rarely did. When the Reformation began, some principalities converted to Lutheranism, while others remained Catholic. The religion of a state typically followed the religion of its prince. In 1520, the most powerful ruler in Europe and the Holy Roman Emperor was Charles V, also Charles I of Spain. At age 20, he controlled a vast collection of territories: Austria and the Habsburg lands, the Netherlands and Belgium, much of northern France, all of Spain, all Spanish, holdings in the New World. Despite his youth, Charles was deeply concerned with the rapidly spreading Protestant Reformation. Charles cared for three reasons. 1. It was happening on his lands, creating unrest in Germany. 2. It threatened political unity, dividing his nobles into Catholic and Protestant camps. 3. He saw himself as the defender of the true faith, responsible for protecting the Roman Catholic Church and guiding his subjects toward salvation. In 1521, Charles guaranteed safe passage to Luther and summoned him to appear before his court to explain his teachings. Luther did so at the famous Diet of Worms, defending his beliefs before Charles and a panel of theologians. Luther failed to convince the emperor and refused to recant. Despite promising Luther's safety, Charles declared him an outlaw. But before he could be arrested, several sympathetic German princes helped Luther escape. He spent a year hidden in Wartburg Castle, where he translated the New Testament into German, a foundational moment in the history of both German language and Protestantism. Charles could not focus exclusively on the Reformation because he faced two major external enemies: France and the Ottoman Empire. France was to his west. Charles's territories nearly surrounded it. French King Francis I believed his realm's security depended on pushing back Habsburg power. As a result, France and the empire fought almost continuously from 1521 to 1559. The Ottoman Empire was the most powerful state in the eastern Mediterranean. By 1526, the Ottomans had conquered Hungary, placing them only about 60 miles from Vienna, one of Charles's most important cities. The Ottoman ruler, Suleiman the Magnificent, was one of the greatest sultans in Ottoman history. He sought to expand westward into Christian Europe, posing an existential threat to Charles's lands. Because Charles was constantly occupied with wars against France and the Ottomans, he did not have the time or resources to crush the Reformation in Germany. He repeatedly had to call Protestant princes together, negotiate with them, and pressure them back into the Catholic Church. But each time he prepared to act decisively, new crises emerged. Either the French or the Turks threatened his borders, and he had to leave Germany to defend his empire. Charles was the only leader powerful enough to restore religious unity to Germany, but he was too distracted by war to do so. Because the emperor was constantly pulled away, Protestantism survived and became permanently rooted in many German states.